So now imagine that the same happens level up, and your higher self basically is having a dream now, and your life here on earth is the dream of your higher self, right? Alright, this is Mike Sygula from TruthTheory.com, and welcome to another episode of True Spirituality. This is my series on metaphysics, esotericism, mysticism, and spirituality. And if you are new here, please subscribe. This is already episode 15, so check out the other episodes. We're covering all sorts of very interesting topics, trying to understand nature of reality on much deeper levels, talking about anything from psychedelics to meditation to consciousness to karma, reincarnation, new age stuff, law of attraction, etc. And today we're going to talk about something very important in metaphysics. What is higher self? And higher self is not that simple to explain, this concept, because as a lot of similar concepts, higher self really exists beyond space and time and sensory perception. So it's very difficult to use language to explain something that is beyond senses, beyond space and time, right? But I'm gonna try to do my best and use analogies. Think about the movie Matrix and this scene where Neo meets Morpheus, and Morpheus tries to explain to him what the Matrix is.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
So Morpheus says, unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. And then Morpheus offers Neo the red pill, which allows Neo now to, switch off, get out of the Matrix and see the Matrix for himself. So think about that. How can you explain to someone who lives inside Matrix what is Matrix if the only thing they know is Matrix, right? They have no point of reference because they never experienced anything beyond that, right? So in the same way, how can you explain what is higher self if you are part of your higher self and you are a limited version of that higher self and all you see is you and your 3D reality, right? Not very simple thing to do. But, I like to use analogies, so we're going to try to explain these things through analogies. So think about what happens when you are dreaming. You have a dream. You have your avatar there to experience reality in your dream, and everything is very different, right? So when you are dreaming, you might not even be aware that you're dreaming. You might think this is real stuff, right? Everything is distorted, but in comparison to your awake life, right? Because you only can see the comparison when you wake up, right? When you are already dreaming, you don't even know that there is a level up, right? Unless you have lucid dreams. So that's a little bit different, but normal dreaming, everything's very different. When you wake up, your senses are much different. The way you perceive, it's so much better, right? Time is very different as well. When you're dreaming, the dream might be a few minutes long or a few hours long and seems like forever sometimes, right? But you only know it was a few minutes long when you wake up, because you have a different level of consciousness and different point of perception, right? So now imagine that the same happens level up, and your higher self basically is having a dream now, and your life here on earth is the dream of your higher self, right? So it's the same kind of idea, but goes level higher. And reality from the level of your higher self is the same like reality here on earth comparing to dream. Senses are so much better, perception, time is also different. So let's say your life on earth might be 70 years, whatever, 80 years, but from the level of your higher self, that's like a moment 1 hour, let's say. Same way like your dreams, right? Completely different perception. So what you really are is just a lower incarnation, a limited and filtered version of your higher self. And some teachings claim that higher self is basically like a version of you from maybe 6th or 7th density, and we are here in 3rd density now. To understand that, again, another concept that we need to understand is not easy to understand: time, right? Time on Earth seems like we have progression of events. The Earth spins around its axis, moves around the sun. So we have this idea that time flows, right? You have progression of events, 24 hours, etc., 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 right? But on the high level, everything is happening simultaneously, right? Because really everything is just consciousness that creates reality, and all these different versions and all these different things are happening in the same time. Therefore, really all your incarnations are not, your past or future incarnations, but really you could say are parallel incarnations. So again, to understand that, I like to use an analogy. Think about when you play a video game, right? Let's say you finished playing video game on level 3, you started on level 1, and you saved your game, and next time you start playing and you start from level 3. You don't have to go from level 1 to level 3 again because you load a game from a hard drive, right? Or you watch Netflix. You don't have to have this progression of events to watch a specific movie. If you know the URL or you finish watching it halfway through, you turn it on, you know the URL, you click, and you start watching it from the moment you finish, right? So the same thing happens with reality. Reality is really kind of loaded from consciousness. It's like you have a dream that is happening in your head, let's say, or in your mind, even though it seems like there is a 3D space, different people there, but they are all kind of you. It's only you. It's only stuff happening in your mind. So the whole reality is working on the same level. Everything is loaded from consciousness, therefore there is no time. Everything exists now. So technically your incarnations aren't really like past or future, all happened already. They all exist now. And your higher self is like your future incarnation, the most advanced, evolved version of you. So you are really now a limited version of that higher self. So another really interesting thing about higher self is that because it exists beyond space and time, in order for it to interact with us here, it has to create some kind of interface, right? Again, I like these analogies. Think about you want to launch an app on your computer or some program. You click on some icon, right? This icon is not the program, right? But you need some kind of interface. You need some kind of a visual representation so you can interact with this program, right? The program is really some code and other things, but you need something to interact with it, right? So it's very similar with your higher self. Sometimes people who are clairvoyant or psychics, they might see higher self, or sometimes you might see it in a vision, whatever. And higher self can appear, for example, as older version of you, or as some kind of incarnation that it likes to associate itself with. So let's say you had several incarnations, or a lot of incarnations in particular region, planet, group, whatever, and your higher self might appear as this type of being because it likes to associate himself or herself with that group. So it creates in a way interface for you to interact with him or her, but it's not their form. It's not how they really look or appear. It's just for us so we can kind of understand it from our level here on Earth in 3D, right? But really one of the most important things is that higher self really acts as your guide. So in a scientific terms, you can think about it as your subconscious mind, your intuition, right? But really the interesting thing is that your higher self knows what are the optimal outcomes for you, right? Because it understands your soul plan, what you came here to do, what is the best thing, what are your predispositions, things like that. So it wants to guide you to basically create the life the way that it will work for you the most. And the problem is that we are conditioned, we have this lower self that is basically programmed version. Society tells you this, or education tells you something else, or your parents are programming you, whatever, and you might start making different choices that are not aligned with your higher self, with your best outcome. So it's really important to tune into your higher self and start listening to guidance and fulfilling the path of your higher self, because it knows what is the best outcome for you. And I'm gonna talk about this particular thing in part 2 of this video, and part 2 is available only for Patreon supporters. So go to patreon.com/TruthTheory. Become a supporter there, and you can watch part 2 where I'm explaining how to tune into your higher self and get guidance. And also you can check out other free content there that's exclusive for Patreon people. And when you become a Patreon supporter, you can message me directly as well. So I'm happy to answer some of your questions directly as well. And yeah, thanks for checking this episode of True Spirituality. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. What are your views about higher self? Check out other episodes of True Spirituality. This is already episode 15. Subscribe if you're new here so you get notifications when new content appears. And thanks for checking, and till next time.